Okay, this is KP4MD. Our live stream is on air and online. And do we have a net control tonight?
KP4MG, this is KN6QNJ. I can do it if you'd like.
Sure, James. If you're able, that would be a great help. I want to put a shout out there to Craig, WP2N, who is on our live chat here on YouTube. We'll be starting the net shortly. KP4 Mike Delta.
Good evening, this is James, Kilo November 6, Quebec November Juliet, your net control operator for the River City ARC Slow Scan TV Net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City ARC's members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I'll recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
Alpha India 6 Delta Golf, Joel in Florence.
Alpha India 6 Delta Golf, Joel in Florence. Good evening, Joel. Next station.
This is Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta, Carol in Citrus Heights, and Alpha's also joined us on live chat. That's KN6 Papa Romeo Delta.
Good evening, Alf. Carol, KP4MD. Next station. Well, I have AI6DG and KP4MD and myself, KN6QNJ. Any other stations wishing to participate in the Slow Scan TV Net tonight? All right, Joel and Carol, it looks like it's the three of us, at least for the moment. Joel, are you ready to send a picture?
Oh, geez, no. Hey, if someone else could go first, I'll start getting I do have a picture, but I don't have it prepped. So if one else could go before me, I can go after them.
Okay, we'll wait for AI6DG. KP4MD, are you ready?
Yeah, affirmative. This is going to be BW12. How about that? BW12, KP4MD.
KP4MD, that was fast, and it came in really well, at least for me. phonetic alphabet, looks like a Morse code chart. Really fast, quick, and clear. AI6DG, do you have a comment?
Fast and pretty clear, yeah. What's the 39.99 at the bottom right, though? So I guess this was a photo of something. Wow, that was fast. Yeah, it is pretty good quality considering how fast it was. But I'm wondering what this is of. I mean, is it a picture of something? Back to net, AI6D. The net. Wait a minute, phonetic. Okay, so it's phonetic, and then you have the Morse code underneath it, and looks like it's got a reflection in the glass. Maybe this is behind. It's maybe framed. Back to net, AI6DG.
Before we go on, let me see if there's any others who want to join the net tonight. Any other stations wanting to join tonight? Okay, Carol, KP4MD, can you tell us about this?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. This is a picture I took on my smartphone when I was walking through IKEA just a week ago. I was down, I think it was down on the first floor. You know, first you go through the one in West Sacramento. You go through all of the different rooms of the house, you know, like the dining room and the kitchen and all that up on the second floor. Then you go downstairs, and then they have a whole other section where they have like bowls and knives and forks and lamp fixtures and things for to decorate inside. And this thing was for sale. It is. Let me just read it for you. It was an IKEA. It says, this picture has extra depth and life because it's printed on high quality canvas, and it stands out from the wall in an attractive way because it continues around the edges of the canvas. And this actually measures 39.25 by 27.5 inches. And it's called the phonetic alphabet. Of course, they've got a, I was hoping that Anders would be here because I know he likes all that Swedish stuff. This is a picture. It's spelled PJATTERYD. I guess it's Pjatterid or something like that. And it sells for $39.99 at IKEA. I thought it was absolutely incredible that they had something like this for sale. And I guess some people like to decorate their houses with phonetic alphabet and Morse code. And I thought it was very appropriate for this net. Back to you.
KP4MD, that's really interesting. I thought this was something that was from the 1940s or 50s. Now I'll have an excuse to go to IKEA and check that out. Joel, do you have any other comments about this?
Was there glass in front? Do I see a reflection?
Yeah, it's. I believe it's wrapped in this shrink wrap plastic. That's what you're seeing over.
That's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Carol. Yes, Anders would really get a kick out of this. Maybe you'll have to show this next time he joins us. AI6DG, are you ready? If not, I'm queued up.
Was there tone?
Affirmative.
PD 120.
AI60G, Joel. That's a very cool building. It looks like either an old bank or a train station or some kind of hall. I'll be interested to learn more about it. The production of the picture came through really well. I can barely see any pixel pops, just the way the contrast and lighting is. The wood floor, the balcony up above, very, very interesting shot, and I look forward to hearing more about it. Carol, KP4MD.
Okay, yeah, this is Carol. Killer Pop for Mike Delta. The pictures that Joel normally shares on this kind of grandiose scale, I would they're either one or two places. They're on one of these gigantic luxury liner cruise ships, or something out of one of those resort hotels in Las Vegas. And I'm looking at the ceiling, and oh my gosh, that painting on the ceiling is something that reminds me of something that like Michelangelo would paint. Something like the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. We could see all these people, up on the clouds, looking up towards the heavens and that sort of thing. Now, I would say it's very interesting. I guess this is kind of a hall, maybe designed for receptions or something, like a ballroom type thing. If it was in a place like, I don't think it would be in Caesar's Palace, because Caesar's Palace has more, it's kind of more stark classical architecture, not this kind of Baroque stuff. This is more Renaissance or Baroque style art. I would say, if this was somewhere in Las Vegas, it would be the Cathedral of the Slot Machine. Something like that. But very interesting. Back to Nets, KP4MD.
KP4MD, I like Cathedral of the Slot Machines. That's excellent. Yeah, it does have the curvature of a cruise ship. Maybe the Queen Mary, given how old it looks. Joel, AI60G, what are we looking at?
So I'm confusing you because this isn't something I normally do, because this is a photo off of Wikipedia. I just didn't have anything. I wanted something new and different. So I had looked at this photo earlier today at work from Wikipedia, and what this is the Sheldonian Theatre in Oxford, England, at the University of Oxford. This was built between 1664 and 1669. The ceiling is a major feature of this building, or this hall, and it's oil painted on canvas. I'm assuming from that same time period in the 17th century. And who painted this? Robert Streeter, whoever that is. It's a very nice photo. It's very wide angles, so the edges and the sides are a bit distorted. It's HDR. Otherwise, you can tell it's HDR because it's got some deep shadows and some brightly lit areas, but you can see full features in both of them. So who did this did a very nice job on it, and I can only catch their Wikipedia name of Dilif, I think. So I don't know what their real name is. But one interesting thing about this is they call it a theater, and nowadays when you say theater, you think of dramatic productions. But in this usage, when they say theater, it's for musical concerts, lectures, and university ceremonies. So they don't actually do dramatic theater in this theater, quote unquote, quotes around, air quotes, yeah. And it's really hard. I'm from California, and you're hard placed to find anything around here that's older than 100 years, maybe 150 to 200 years if you stretch it. But 17th century. So how many hundreds of years ago was this? I mean, this is old for here, and for Europe, this isn't even all that old. So it's just, yeah, different. It's all relative, and there's nothing to compare it against in the U.S. West Coast, at least, anyway. Back to net, AI6DG.
AI6DG, really interesting. Well, it's remarkably well preserved, and that's a great story. It looks like a good location for in-person club meetings at some point in the future. Okay, I'm about to transmit a photo. Stand by. This will be PD 120.
I have a comment first, though.
Oh, go ahead, Carol. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I think I pretty much pegged the period, though. The 17th century was the Baroque period, where they had extremely ornate art. That it was a style of that kind of ceiling painting there, and theater. I can imagine back in those years. Another application of theater was for things like dissections and surgeries. They have what they call an operating theater, where the surgeon would be in the center there, or whoever it was maybe doing a dissection, and there would be students all around up in the seating in that kind of form for, to learn what was going on. So that was very prominent back there, also back then as a theater. But thank you very much for sharing this picture, and it makes sense being in a educational institution. This is KP4MD.
KP4MD. Yeah, that's a great comment. Yeah, it does look like that could double as a operating and training theater for medical students. Very interesting. Any other comments you want to add, Joel, before I transmit?
Nope, go ahead.
All right, PD 120. Well, AI6DG, do you want to comment first?
I might have an unfair advantage. I'm suspecting this is from a project that Anders did this past weekend with his extra class. They were making stub filters, and after that, I went over to his house to give him some of the supplies for him to build the 80-meter bandpass filter for North Hills, and I brought over the 4 filters I'd already built, and he put them on his spectrum analyzer, or VNA, I mean, and we tested them, and they all passed pretty good. But this sure looks like a similar setup. I mean, I'm assuming this is Anders' analyzer. I see an analyzer sitting on what looks like a glass table with a screen and buttons and the 2 inputs on the front, and one cable kind of just sitting right next to it that's not plugged in, and another one plugged in that goes forward and off screen and comes back up to what looks like it's probably an N connector to an adapter to an SMA, and one end of the SMA is to an adapter to a BNC terminator, and the other port on the T connector is more adapters, probably BNC to UHF, and then UHF to a piece of coax going off screen, I'm assuming is a stub filter. And then off behind that, just to the right of the analyzer, is a dummy load with more adapters and probably to an N connector, with maybe a tray or a container holding cables and adapters, accessories just barely on screen to the right, a planter in the background on the right. I think that's it. Back to Net AI6DG.
AI6DG. Okay, good comments. KP4MD.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. Well, I don't think you have an unfair advantage there, Joel, because I'm looking on one of my shelves here, and I see something that looks so much like that. What I have here on my shelf is a Siglent SSA3021X spectrum analyzer, and the front of the thing looks exactly like what you have on this picture. The cable that's plugged in the left there, that's going to the tracking generator output. There is nothing connected at all to the RF input, which is unusual. Usually you wouldn't just use the tracking generator output without having something connected to the RF input that you'd be measuring. So I'm not sure if there was something temporarily disconnected from that the measuring port, which is the one on the right side. And yeah, he's got some nice cables there with N connectors, and he's got that little T connector there in SMA, and a dummy load on one of the arms of the T connector, and a nice heavy-duty dummy load over there with some with a heat sink on it there standing, and it's not connected to anything. So yeah, I don't think you had an unfair advantage whatsoever. Actually, you have the exact same piece of equipment right in front of me. Back to you there, James, KP4MD.
Well, of course, you're both right. This was the extra class which I was taking. I was taking because this was the last session. And that on the lower right was the antenna stub that I made. That was the first time I'd ever put together a coaxial connector on the end of coax. And Anders and I, he's not in this shot, but he was helping me tune the antenna stub for, I'm still learning all this, resonance and impedance. And so we were trying to get it down to like 52 ohms, and we were trimming and testing and measuring, and that's what we were doing. So it was a really good experience for me, and of course Anders is an excellent teacher, and he was working with Orion at the Foothills Radio Club. So any other comments before we maybe do another round? I don't know if AI6DG and KP4MD want to do another round or not.
No, I'm okay. I had a question for both you and Joel. Uh, since I bought my Siglent spectrum analyzer probably about almost 3 years ago. Well, it was, yeah, just about 3 years ago. It was before we started the trade war with China. And since then, I did get the Tiny SA, and I have seen some comparisons online on the YouTube where they've tried to measure the Tiny SA against the Siglent, and given the price of the Tiny SA being so cheap compared to this thing, uh, it does reasonably well from what I've heard. I wonder if either of you have the Tiny SA or another spectrum analyzer. This is KP for MD.
KP for MD, Anders, NR6H, did have one with him and a VNA, and he really likes how well they work for their size. So I think his testimonial is it's pretty comparable. The difficulty is that they're so small that they're a little hard to operate, where in this unit, in the picture, it's much easier to use, but the little ones apparently give you almost all of the same information and versatility. I don't know, AI6DG, what's your experience?
Not too far off of what you're saying. I don't have a lot of hard personal experience on it, but my understanding is that within the limitations, that it's an excellent bang for the buck. I mean, obviously, you're going to have limitations. It's got a higher noise floor, smaller screen, but for what you're paying, for what you're getting, it's an amazing bang for the buck. Although I would say maybe one disadvantage of it is it tries to do too much. It's just not as simple to use as a dedicated purpose like one of the rig experts. I mean, those are just a few buttons, but those do one thing well, whereas the nano VNAs try to do everything as well as they can within their limits. And they're doing a pretty good attempt at that. Back to net AI6DG.
KP4MD, did that help? It probably affirmed what you already knew.
Yes, very good. Pretty much confirms everything. So, yeah, I have to agree. I like the big screen on the Siglent, but Siglent was big bucks. Gee, when I got it, I think it was over 2,000. If I might be wrong, but it was pretty pricey. But a very useful piece of equipment for testing if equipment is in compliance with FCC emission purity standards, that sort of thing. Over.
Copy. Yeah, that's what Anders said he paid for this unit. So you compare 2,000 plus to 100 or less than 100 for similar functionality. It's unless you're in the business of doing this or really need maybe a higher level of precision or ease of use. Getting a unit like this, which would be great to have, be for most people. Joel and Carol, do you want to call it a night, or do you want to do another round?
Yeah, I'm fine with calling it a night if Joel would like to.
I'll go with the group.
I actually have another picture queued up that will make you smile. So why don't I go ahead and send this, and then you two can decide if you want to send anything else. So stand by. This will be PD 120 again. probably not too much to say about this, but Carol, if you want to comment, KB4MD, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. It's looks like a piece of cake with some kind of syrup on top drizzled on it. Um, I can't. It looks like it's a layer cake with some kind of um filling between three different layers. I have no idea. Back to you, but pick the colors are nice in the background. They're out of focus, so you got this like shallow field focus effect. Very interesting. Back to you, KP from D.
KP4MD. And I see Craig Bruce online saying, what? No ice cream? He also had a question for you about Yogis. Joel, AI6DG, any comments?
So we've got a fancy, maybe bluish ceramic plate with a piece of dessert on it sitting on top of a white table. We can see the white edge of the table kind of arching behind the plate, so we're pretty close up to the cake, but it's a very small depth of field, so the front of the plate and the cake is in focus, but the back of the plate and everything behind it is grossly out of focus. So this is probably shot with a lens that's wide open, like a, I don't know, 1.8, f 1.8 or something in that range. And nice pretty colors in the very blurry background, blues and pinks. Maybe this is like a table, an outdoor table, and that's a cityscape in the background. So we've got kind of a yellowish cake or cream cake or something with an orange frosting on the top, and even oranger than that frosting drizzled back and forth is kind of a good description, and maybe some sort of what's it called when you put a filling? Yeah, filling. Maybe a filling in the cake with on the side that's squirting out, and on the other side that's on the plate. So where and what? Yes, that's the interest. That's the point of interest, and I'm trying to. Once I find out what it is, I'll start envisioning what it must have tasted like. Back to net. Oh, and there's I'm assuming the repeater ID, because there's a bar about a quarter of the way down from the top of the screen. Good reception otherwise, although there's a fair number of pops. Maybe we can just see them better because of the background. Back to net, AI6DG.
AI6DG and KP4MD, good comments. Every once in a while I get conscripted to take photos of new food at my wife's restaurant. This is a cheesecake, but it's light. It's not heavy, with a caramel drizzle on it. And I took this shot with my iPhone. I think the depth of field, the aperture was about 4, but I tried to set it up to blur the background, get the color, and get some depth. Of course, when I took the shot, I tilted the plate up, so it just to position it nicely and get the lighting right. But I did take this outside on the patio. So anyway, I thought, nothing like a piece of cheesecake to make people smile. KN6QNJ. AI6DG or KP4MD, do you want to send up any more photos, or just shift to next week?
Yeah, I'm done. This is KP for MD.
Next week is fine with me.
Joel, sorry, I stepped on you. Can you repeat?
Next week is fine with me.
Okay. Well, let me thank all of us who participated in tonight's Slow Scan TV Net. including the viewers on YouTube tonight. Thank you for showing up and being active with us. We hope to see you all again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. This is James, Kilo November 6, Quebec, November, Juliet. The net is officially closed at 9:39 p.m. Have a good evening.